Your smartphone, electric car, and even fighter jets all depend on one thing: rare earth elements. These metals are the invisible backbone of modern technology, tiny but essential. Nearly all are sourced from one country, China. If access is cut off, global industries and security are at risk. This isn't a distant threat, it's a real vulnerability shaping the future right now. The question: who controls tomorrow's technology, and what happens if the tap is turned off? In the high-stakes arena of US-China relations, a new agreement has been announced to secure America's access to rare earth elements. Brokered by the Trump administration, the deal promises a limited flow of these critical materials to American firms, aiming to ease a brewing supply chain crisis. But the details are murky. China's Commerce Ministry confirmed a few export licenses but didn't specify how many or if US companies would benefit. Is this a real concession, or just a maneuver to maintain leverage while appearing cooperative? The lack of transparency leaves US industries uncertain, still vulnerable to Beijing's political whims. The administration frames the deal as a victory, buying time for domestic development. Critics argue it locks the US into dependency, failing to address the core strategic risk. In reality, this is a fragile truce in a tech war that's far from over. The new rare earth deal, hailed as a win, could be a Trojan horse for the US economy and military. By leaving control in Beijing's hands, the US may have validated China's use of economic coercion. Even with the deal, China can manipulate supply, slow-walking licenses, prioritizing allies, or restricting high-grade materials. This could quietly erode American manufacturing and innovation. The US defense industry is especially at risk. Rare earths are essential for missiles, fighter jets, and advanced military tech. China's restrictions threaten Washington's military edge and global power projection. The deal risks lulling the US into complacency, delaying urgent investment in domestic supply chains. Trading short-term relief for long-term vulnerability could give Beijing a decisive advantage. Rare earth elements, despite their name, aren't truly rare in terms of their abundance in the Earth's crust. They're actually more plentiful than many well-known metals like gold or silver. However, the challenge lies in their extraction and refining. These elements are often found dispersed in low concentrations, making the process complex, environmentally intensive, and therefore costly. Separating them into usable forms requires specialized techniques and significant investment. This is where China dominates the global rare earth market. They control a significant portion of the mining, processing, and refining capacity, giving them considerable influence over the supply chain. These 17 elements, a collection of lanthanides plus scandium and yttrium, possess a unique set of chemical and physical properties that make them indispensable in various high-tech applications. Their unique characteristics are what power our modern devices and enable many of the technologies we rely on daily. Consider europium and terbium, crucial for creating the vibrant and accurate colors we see on our screens, from smartphones to high-definition televisions. Or neodymium, essential for producing the powerful magnets found in headphones, electric vehicle motors, and countless other applications requiring high-performance magnetic materials. Then there's lanthanum, a key ingredient in camera lenses, enhancing their clarity and image quality. And cerium, vital for catalytic converters in vehicles, helping to reduce harmful emissions and improve air quality. Without these elements and their unique properties, the technological revolution of the past 30 years, with its rapid advancements in electronics and computing, simply wouldn't have been possible. Their importance extends far beyond consumer electronics. They are even more critical in the development and production of advanced military hardware. For example, samarium cobalt magnets are crucial components in missile guidance systems, providing the precision and reliability needed for accurate targeting. Yttrium and neodymium are essential for creating high-powered lasers used in military applications, from targeting systems to advanced weaponry. Rare earth elements are also vital for advanced sonar systems used in naval warfare and stealth technology that helps military aircraft evade detection. Disruptions in the supply of rare earth elements don't just translate to pricier gadgets and consumer goods. They pose a significant threat to national security, potentially hindering the development and production of critical defense technologies. The very same supply chain that powers the production of wind turbines for renewable energy also underpins the manufacturing of sophisticated missile guidance systems, highlighting the inherent duality of these materials. When China, the dominant player in the rare earth market, tightens its grip on the supply chain, Whether through export restrictions or other measures, it effectively holds both the global consumer economy and the national security interests of many countries hostage, creating a precarious situation of dependence. This dual-use leverage, the ability to impact both civilian and military applications, is what makes rare earth elements uniquely powerful and strategically important. The stakes surrounding rare earth elements are far higher than most people realize, impacting everything from our daily gadgets to the balance of global power. America's reliance on China for rare earths is staggering, a strategic failure decades in the making. The US has reserves, but its processing capacity has vanished. China controls 60% of mining, but nearly 90% of refining, and for key heavy rare earths almost 100%. This dominance is no accident. China invested early, undercut global competitors, and mastered complex refining. The US now imports nearly 80% of its rare earths from China. Even alternative sources often depend on Chinese materials. For rare earth magnets vital for green tech and defense, China supplies over 90%. This leaves US innovation and security at Beijing's mercy. Recent export restrictions are a taste of this reality. Rebuilding US capacity will take years and billions, leaving America exposed for the foreseeable future. China has weaponized its rare earth dominance before. In 2010, after a territorial dispute with Japan, Beijing abruptly halted rare earth shipments, crippling Japan's tech industries and auto industries. Prices soared, supply chains collapsed, and Japan was forced to concede. China proved it could inflict economic pain without firing a shot. The lesson: Beijing's assurances as a reliable supplier can't be trusted when its interests are at stake. The current restrictions are an escalation of this tested strategy. China's rare earth monopoly is a geopolitical lever ready to be pulled. The world has seen this playbook before, and it's being used again. Beijing's new export controls are more than simple trade measures. They represent a significant shift in how China views its role in the global economy and its relationship with other nations. This isn't just about tariffs or quotas. It's about wielding control over essential resources. They're a warning, a carefully calibrated message to the US and its allies. This move signals a willingness to use economic leverage to achieve political objectives, challenging the established norms of international trade and cooperation. It forces a reevaluation of dependencies and vulnerabilities. Access to China's rare earths, crucial components in everything from smartphones to defense systems, is now a privilege, not a guarantee. This control gives China immense power over global industries, and that access can be revoked at any time, based on factors that may have little to do with traditional trade considerations. This introduces a new level of uncertainty and risk into the global supply chain. This fundamentally shifts the relationship from a purely commercial one to a deeply political one, where economic interactions are intertwined with strategic considerations. Supply is now conditional on behavior that aligns with Beijing's interests, creating a system where nations must carefully consider the potential consequences of their actions on their access to vital resources. This is economic statecraft in its most assertive form. The timing of this move is critical, adding another layer of complexity to an already tense geopolitical landscape. Especially as the US and EU scramble to build alternative supply chains, investing heavily in domestic production and seeking new sources for these critical materials. China is flexing its power, demonstrating its ability to disrupt and delay these efforts, potentially hindering the West's attempts to reduce its reliance on Chinese resources. By offering only limited access to these materials, China can strategically influence the pace and direction of Western industrial development. Beijing may be trying to prevent a full-scale, unified Western effort to completely break free of its grip on the rare earths market. To break free of its grip and establish true industrial independence. The stakes are high, and the competition is intensifying. The threat is now explicit, no longer veiled in diplomatic ambiguity. Any US action deemed hostile by Beijing could trigger an immediate and potentially devastating economic response. This is a clear warning against any perceived aggression, specifically targeting America's industrial base, the very foundation of its economic and military power. This significantly raises the stakes of every diplomatic move, every policy decision, and every international negotiation. The risk of miscalculation, of unintended consequences, is higher than ever before, demanding careful consideration and strategic foresight. The rare earths issue is now front and center, a key battleground in the ongoing struggle for global influence. In the increasingly complex and competitive landscape of US-China strategic competition, The future of global trade and security may well depend on how this challenge is addressed. The fallout from this rare earth deal will shape US-China relations for years. Expect a push for economic and technological decoupling with massive investment in non-Chinese supply chains. In the short term, the US remains vulnerable. China still holds the cards. Beijing may use rare earth access as leverage in other disputes, from tariffs to tech restrictions, and to divide Western allies. This could trigger a cycle of escalation, US sanctions, Chinese countermeasures, and rising tensions. The era of prioritizing efficiency over security is ending. Resilience and trusted partnerships will define the new global order. New economic blocs will form, centered on friend-shoring critical industries. The US-China relationship is shifting from symbiotic trade to strategic rivalry. The rare earth saga is a pivotal moment, forcing both sides to choose diverging paths. The world is watching, and the stakes are enormous. We stand at a crossroads. The US-China rare earth deal is about power, dependency, and the future of global order. The Trump administration calls it a necessary step to avert crisis and buy time for domestic alternatives. Critics warn it normalizes economic coercion and risks complacency, leaving the US vulnerable. The vague, conditional nature of China's export licenses suggests this is a temporary ceasefire, not a stable solution. Will this crisis spur real change, or will short-term relief breed long-term risk? The debate is open, and the consequences will echo for decades.